And we're live. So the official welcome back to the next episode of our perfectionism check-in call.
Can you believe it's check-in call 4? I was convinced it was check-in call 3.
Very good. And one of them got lost in history.
Yeah.
But they're all there.
In the busyness of my mind, in fact.
In the business of your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so these calls, we just thought, just a quick reminder, these calls are about the view into the work that George and I do on our perfectionism. And we did get a bit hung up in our own perfectionism live, I think, last week, reminding us how important this work is. And we have a hypothesis, you see, that these calls create 3 types of value for you. So one is the candid exposure of the tendrils of perfectionism, because what we notice in our private check-ins is that when we talk about stuff, how the tendrils of perfectionism just extend into things that you just don't think have anything to do with perfectionism. We also model coaching, because there isn't a lot of coaching that's really modeled out there. And then lastly, it's about holding the space for your own self-inquiry, for which we have a worksheet that can help you with that, with some questions in for self-reflection.
And here is the link to that.
George, was there anything you wanted to add to the intro before we get going?
No, because I don't want to take any more space than necessary, and all has been beautifully said.
And just, of course, to say that if our hypothesis is false, or if there's anything you want to tell us or ideas, then I know you'll do that in the feedback forms that we send you.
Because the snappier we are in the beginning, the more time we have to engage with you after Sam and I are done.
Yep. And that's the aim, is that we'll make a bit more space for some interactivity with you guys. Mm-hmm. If you so wish. The invitation. Yeah. Okay. So should we just take a moment to get present, George, before we get started? My favourite way is 3 deep breaths, however you might want to do that. So would you like to go first, or shall I jump in with questions, George? It's up to you.
First, accountability. My action was to update or refresh my morning routine, where I still do my gratitude practice, and add to that the intention setting on non-working days.
Yeah.
And I have been doing that. It's not lasting me, or it's not as present with me as it is on working days, though. So maybe it's practice, and I just need to keep doing it. But yeah, I'm not benefiting from it as much as on working days, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I've been doing it, and it's been helpful. Yeah. Cool. How is your sleeping going? You had a goal of 7 hours, 6 out of 7 nights.
Yeah, I've actually smashed it. Not saying I'm goal orientated, but
never.
but what's been so interesting is so I actually realized, looking back through my stats, that over the course of the past month, I've actually been better at sleeping for 7 hours than I thought. And over the past 7 days, I've made it 7 out of 7. But
fantastic.
Yeah, but what's been so interesting as I've gone through that is noticing the link to my energy. Because I remember reflecting that when I'm on holiday, I'm knackered, I sleep for a few days, and then I'm like Tigger, and I'm, totally in my bouncy best self. I haven't noticed that same pattern. And so what my week really has been about has been noticing, like really trying to witness and notice my energy and what drains me and what boosts me as I go through the week. So it's been quite interesting to notice that sleep is a much smaller component of my energy in actual fact than I thought.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And is this what you want to bring into our dive today?
Yeah, we could do, but why don't we maybe just have a start with like just how's your week been?
Yeah, I very different to how I dreamed it up to be, and because I've come out of more as many have, there were a couple of months of lockdown. Then we were out of lockdown for a couple of weeks, but still global pandemic. And then we ended up in quarantine with people who got ill, but I wasn't ill. And what I was really looking forward to, everyone getting healthy and us getting back to a new normal, just some regularity, right? Where we could be together in our own home with, as a little family and get back to doing some great work. And in my mind, I was really looking forward to it, to get some thinking time again. I can sink my teeth back into work. I can connect with more people, and I can, get back into it. And in my mind, I imagined I would be like almost bursting with energy. And then the first time I got to the workspace, I tried to sit down and do this, and my mind was just all over the shop, and I just felt tired and knackered and exhausted. And so it's been disappointing in that way, because I thought I could go back in there and just boom and go for it. Yeah. So that, and I thought I would go in, using the tools to organize my work so that I don't get overwhelmed and everything. And but even I struggled with that, and then I got anxious, and yeah. So while overall, if I detached myself completely from the experience rationally, I should just be happy and grateful to be back. And while there is definitely some of that, I'm also here anxious and almost feeling guilty that I haven't been as productive as I dreamed up I would be when I come back. So I'm kind of struggling with the paradigm shift of exiting lockdown quarantine, entering the new normal with more regularity and yeah, focused time.
I'm laughing because I'm just drawing some parallels to like what's been going on for me, because of course this is my first week of like living the dream, really, so obviously I continue my good relationship with Adventures with Agile, but no longer on a salaried basis. I've taken the leap into, fully supporting myself through my own coaching business, which has been my dream of the past however many years to do that, to truly move into this space of flexible working, to have lined up, like plenty of work. I was really worried that I'd be in this space of like not having work, and I have lots of work, and security, and much more financial security than I thought I'd have. And I've had a really bumpy week. Like my mindset has, just like you, it's been all over the place. And what strikes me is that we both, did we both do this thing of like not giving ourselves any time for transition from one thing to another and just expecting it to just be perfect? Did we do that?
That cannot possibly be, Sam. That's impossible.
Because I mean, I certainly had like, I'd created space in my diary which felt amazing to do that, and genuine gratefulness to be able to do that. And yet I felt like absolute rubbish. And it there's definitely something for me in allowing myself, because I think now, like, I was feeling like certain guilt around, but it's 3:00 in the afternoon and I'm in the park and there's a to-do list of many things and stuff I should be doing, and I haven't done promotion for the group that I said that I'd do, and and just actually allowing myself, no, I've planned in this time and it's okay.
Yeah, I didn't plan. Yeah, definitely fell into the trap. I'm trying to work out why. And one thought I have is maybe there's this technique of the postcard from the future, right? Where you're kind of sitting down, you're writing yourself what a future dream state would be like in order to give you some inspiration and hope and the light at the end of the tunnel type of description. And in my mind, I did definitely do that and thought about it, and then it became a thing. So it manifested in my mind as, this is how it is going to be. No, this is what I'm looking forward to, but this is how it's going to be. And the first week is going to be like that.
Yeah.
So I think I fell into that trap.
And at what point did you notice that you'd fallen into that trap?
Through our check-in conversations today. I think it started to dawn on me yesterday when I sat down and think, hold on, I've listed out all of these things that I wanted to do, and many of the things that I sat down to do, it was really, really hard to overcome, like, the old patterns of anxiety and procrastination. And I started doing things that I would previously enjoy, and I realized I'm not enjoying them right now, and I just feel depleted. So and the first day I thought, okay, I'm just having a bad start to the week. It can happen to anybody. And yesterday I think it started to dawn on me, hold on, something is not the way that it's supposed to be.
Because I'm just curious if because you have your little boy, obviously, and as he's going on his path of growth through life, I don't know if he's walking yet, but I bet he's totally everywhere. So as he was going from crawling to walking, I bet, like, he fell over quite a lot.
Yeah.
Is it helpful is it helpful for you, do you think, to figure out why you fell down the hole, or just to notice that you fell in the hole, give yourself a metaphorical hug, and then work out what could re-energize you from that point?
No, I think the why is important, because the why helps to identify warning signals, if you will, for the future.
So what warning signal did you notice this time?
Well, this time I didn't. It is my first global pandemic. I don't know about you, but first global pandemic, first time I'm stuck in quarantine, and in my mind, I didn't treat the return for what it actually was. Although I'm doing the same work as before, but it's like going from one engagement to another.
Right.
That's what's kind of materializing for me. It's like going from one engagement to another, right? So, and there was a time when I would just get into engagements and just full steam ahead and and over time learning that actually, you know, in the beginning, slow down, look, listen, learn, link with the system, leverage the strengths that are there, and just take it slow. And yeah, in a way, this is going from the engagement of the quarantine over to the new engagement, which is going back to, you know, going back to work for all intents and purposes. Everything that I had done during lockdown and quarantine was absolutely the smallest that I could fit into the schedule. What was the question again?
Well, I wonder how often that pattern...
Warning signals.
But I wonder how often that pattern comes up, because it's the warning signal for the pattern that you expect, because I see how often I do that, right? That even in my plans for Saturday, that I construct in my head like a perfect version of the day.
Right, yes.
You know, and then it doesn't go like that. But I notice the trap that I've created, like this perfect day. And even though lockdown hasn't happened, I see that you did the same sort of thing I did, that you created like this version of perfect, which wasn't really real. It was a bit over ambitious, perhaps.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. What
would you help you notice that you do that?
Just wondering about how much I do that with sort of weekend days. With weekend days, I don't do it really, I think. Here with the coming out of quarantine, it was much bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in a way, I felt like I needed it to look forward to this. You know, there were many good things about quarantine too, right? Being able to spend so much time with Sammy and go, do stuff with him in the garden, and yeah, that was absolutely wonderful. But it's still a very strange experience from a mental health point of view. So in a way, I kind of needed that that beacon of what to do after quarantine. And so I think the real mistake was, because what I imagined will happen, it's just too soon for it to happen. So I'm becoming aware of what the actual issue is, right? That I didn't actually plan that transition time in. That's the issue, right? That I actually need time to recover from being in quarantine, take it easy for a few days, and don't expect that I can go full steam ahead. Not stream.
Yeah.
Full steam ahead. Yes.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah. So kind of slightly more realistic planning.
Yeah. And it's, once again, it's planning in the break.
Yeah.
Which is just, yes. But this is a macro type break.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the small breaks, they've started to happen after remembering for the, I don't know how many time that they need to be planned in and booked in, but this is kind of a macro break. Yeah.
This seems like quite a significant thing, like allowing time for transition. And you know, a sustainable path for transition. And like for me, I can see lots of examples of, because there are like big transitions, like we're talking about now, like transitions in the way we work, transitions from, you know, complete quarantine lockdown to, you know, back to whatever new normal is. But there are lots of little micro transitions, like from the work day into the evening, and from, you know, the week into the weekend. And I can see in my own life how I do what you do, what you did this week, which is have completely unrealistic expectations about being able to transition state like that. like I'm going to have a, like on Monday, for example, it was first day, fresh engagement. It was 10 till 4:45 on Zoom with like something like two 10-minute breaks and one 30-minute break. So it was really quite intense. And I expected to just be able to snap out of that into something else. And so I built myself a completely unrealistic day on Monday.
Yeah.
Because it was the first day of like my new schedule. I realized I did the same thing as you. Like, you know, I started with a workout and a run, you know, then I did 57 things before starting this thing at 10. I did that whole day. And then I expected to be able to flip out, do some family stuff, and then teach a yoga class. You know, I was like ruined. And like yesterday, you know, the amount of mental resources that I had, like I noticed my mindset was like quite brittle, you know, like I'm quite a positive, you know, good energy person, but I could feel like a brittleness. And that came from just this unrealistic expectation of just, you know.
Yeah.
And I only just realize it now as you say. So thank you.
So we've done something very similar and we worked it out. So what do we want to do about it? So what's going to be our restorative transition over the next few days?
Yeah, good point. So for me, so I know that it's interesting, right? Because we will have two very different strategies.
Yeah.
Because we were talking before about our perspective on perfectionism more broadly. And I come from a perspective of thinking about like development of consciousness. And so I think as soon as we can spot it, it's the self-awareness and it's the compassion. Instead of going into beat up self mode, oh, I've done that thing again and wrongness and blah, blah, blah. It's just, okay, I have an opportunity now to not do that again. So for me, it's all about awareness. And for me, the big word that comes up is naturalness. To just harness, not when I'm trying to force something. Because I get into this pattern, I think, when I'm trying to force something, when I'm trying to do, and not just allow this natural flow. So for me, it's really about noticing as soon as I get into efforting. That's what I'm going to try and be really aware of, is as soon as I start to apply effort, as soon as I start to apply push, that's what's going to help me, because I have this perspective that, you know, I'm just trapped in a little pattern and I just need to become aware of it to transcend it. What do you think is going to help you, George?
Unstructured focus time.
And what does that look like for you?
Yeah. So the one thing that I have had too little of that is important to me, and some of it is my own mistake. If I had wanted to, if I had kind of claimed it, I'm pretty sure I would have had the support to get it, but I was so in the mode, as we identified over the last calls, that I didn't claim it. Different realm now, different paradigm. So unstructured focus time means that I spend some time thinking of whatever it might be, find a theme, and then just follow the thread, follow the theme, right? So usually that involves researching something, learning something, summarizing it, without any ultimate objective, just for the pure joy of being with the subject and learning about it, to learn about it. And I'm gonna shift some of the things that I thought I needed to do this week and make space for that, and just allow myself the rest of this week to transition. So I do have a couple of calls booked, catch up and synchronizing and things like that. I'll do that. But the sort of big things that I thought I needed to accomplish this week, I'll be very selective and defer most of that to next week, and just give myself a couple of days to get back used to what we do. And yeah, so that's what I'll do.
And that strategy of allowing yourself joy seems to be something that might serve you beyond just transition. So how might you remind yourself to allow yourself joy through the week?
The irony is that in a sort of quote unquote normal regular week, I actually have chunks set aside for that. Yeah, but instead of simply using a similar chunking to what my regular week looked like pre-lockdown,
right,
this week it was all because I felt I had to make up as quickly as possible for the time lost, right, that I couldn't do these things.
Yeah.
So there we go.
The efforting, the push. Yeah. Good to see you smile.
Likewise. And yeah, there's also more softness now that seems to be with you.
Yeah.
Good to see that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so for those of you, I guess, that are here with us, like just curious as to what, if anything, has resonated with you from this call? And how does perfectionism really manifest, or has manifested in the past week with you? Hey, Ash.
Hey, Ash, welcome. Long time no see.
Yes, it has been long. Good to see you, beautiful people.
Yeah, good to see you too.
People. I think I've suffered through this as well, right? I mean, sort of packing your day and not having transition time and believing that you could do endless amounts of things in a day. So I think I suffered through that as well in the early part of the lockdown, which is when the way of work changed and there was a lot more going on and we had to work differently and so on. What I'm actually doing is I'm trying to shift more towards being a flow person. So I've been a planning oriented person, and I'm trying to work towards being more of a flow person, which means I would focus on one big thing for the day, and that's about it. There's only one big ticket item, and there would be a list of things that I can go through if I find time, but that's not important. Then I would go with the flow of what else is important. So again, being in the surrounding and taking in what's happening around us, being more mindful of that. That is what I'm trying to work towards, without losing the focus on the bigger things that matter. And it's been difficult. It's been a little bit difficult, but I think the technique tends to work because I do have a list of things which have to be done, and I just put them that these are not so important, low burner items. And then I plan my week each day with one important item. I think that has really helped me, especially spending time with kids and yeah, taking time out. I'm still struggling a little bit with transition, especially when I leave, when I'm reading something or if I just leave my desk. I'm not allowing myself that time, but I'm learning. I'm learning to turn around and look at the kids and being more intentional, asking them a few minutes for me to step out of what I was doing before I give them my attention and things like that. So yeah, I think it's been, if anything, this whole time has been great to reflect and learn how do we actually improve in that area, because otherwise we're just busy in and out going through the motions of daily life.
Yeah, and I love that thing about flow, because I mean, you know, we're agilists, right? All of us on this call, so we all work with Kanban, right, or something like it. And it's just, it really is in this you know, this real quality of awareness, you know, where we notice like the, you know, like the challenges come up. But I'm curious actually, how Like, are there any techniques that you guys use where you notice like how you help yourself transition?
The one that I'm working on right now is, I mean, I do know that I know myself that I need time for myself before I give time to anyone else. I need that little sort of trigger for myself. So I'm trying to shift that a little bit more systematically by being explicit. So previously, I would just, someone would come and stand next to me, want to talk to me. I would just try and buy the time without giving them attention. Now I'm turning around and seeking that time. I'm being more intentional about it, and also being more explicit, raising that awareness for both of us. So I think that's what I am doing when someone interrupts me. Between activities, as I said, I'm moving away from it. So I'm trying to not pack. And obviously, I've moved out of full-time work. So life's different for the last 3-4 weeks. And it's beautiful. It's good. Right. I mean, as you said, we can be in the park at 3 o'clock. I go for my afternoon runs, and it's very different. And you also think like, what must people be thinking? But I tend to not pack too much around the day, because when you're delivering these whatever sessions for 4 or 5 hours, you need to really have good sort of space in the head to be able to focus for 4 or 5 hours at stretch. So.
But still, I think we all have that transition, don't we, from whatever we're doing for work into our, family, relationship, or social time. And I know that for me, I found it really helpful to do something physical, like even if it's just like 5 minutes of shaking, and particularly if it's the end of the day and I want quality connection time, with my husband. Then for me, something that really works is something involving water. So go for a swim, have a shower, have a bath, give myself like at least 30 minutes to kind of like properly get out of the day before I then, come into kind of wife mode. So I wonder what works for you guys as you go from work into husband mode.
Brisk walk does it for me.
Brisk walk, yeah.
For me, it's connected with other things I do as well. It's not only for transitions, but I focus on what do I want, or my passion, or my will, if you like. So it's both on the things I choose to do, and also when I transition from work and into another thing, because it's not always I'm choosing to do what I really, really want to do, but it's more like I'm not doing things I should do anymore.
Right.
And if I'm notice I should do this, I should do that, I'm trying to figure out, would I like to do it? Even if it's boring, would I like to do it still? And the transition path from work to family, it then becomes a choice. And then it starts an introspection kind of feeling, trying to find that will or passion for what I'm going to do now. So it takes some moments, and I'm not really down with it always. It's more like, this is what I'm aspiring to do.
Yeah.
But that helps me, and I think it goes, and I can hear it in my voice. So if I'm doing I should probably spend time with my kids, I'm more like this. And if I'm getting it, I'm sinking down.
Yeah.
So some kind of meditation and walk could also work to just sink down. But focusing on that, my own will, passion thing is a transition help for me.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I'm curious, do you notice, because this thing of will and allowing your will, do you find there are times when you feel the will for something but you squash it? Or is it for you notice the will and then it flows from there?
I don't think I notice myself squashing it. If I do, I think I did a lot of it before. But when I started to get hold of this, it's more like allowing it, as you said, to happen. But I also need more time on considering it. So, because sometimes I just want to play video games, And then I realize, is this really what I would like to do? Or is it just the addiction or the dopamine hit at this moment? So I need to take a step back. So it's not squashing it, but it's realizing this is a dopamine hit thing. And now I would really like to go and mow the lawn because I need that done. And this is the time for me to do it.
Yeah.
But if I really notice the resistance and the pushback, I really don't want to do mowing the lawn, well, I consider postponing it to the next day.
Right.
So it's more like, giving myself that time to do it.
This is really powerful because I don't know anyone, truthfully, who can just like that always know what they want. Because there's this little bit of a dance that we do, don't we, with our own anxiety or with our head versus our will, you know, like between superficial thought and deeper thought, or heart and head, however you want to say it. I just think you expressed that really beautifully, because that is that's the practice, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it is difficult, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, a journey at least, or an inquiry. Yeah.
Self-awareness and self-management.
Yeah, I think journey is the right word, because you're focusing on the path. Where are you now? Having awareness of that path instead of always thinking, how could the goal be best? How could I tune my path so the goal is the greatest?
Right.
It's about it's being aware of the path and having and enjoying it. Yeah, the journey.
Yeah. And it's something that I notice is so easy to say, isn't it? But it's in the there really is such a texture and territory of exploration there, of truly being in the moment and allowing what you really want to come through at that moment.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I'm realizing that we kind of missed a transition question. Speaking of transitions, we usually also ask whether you had any questions about any of the coaching questions or patterns or concepts that we mentioned during our check-in. And I think today's conversation was very conversational. But still, I'll pose the questions if there's anything that you were wondering or thinking of. What might that be? Or was it all good today?
So was that more around your coaching questions? I didn't catch what you... Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think I joined a bit late, so I anyways love the way you both coach. So it's a joy to watch those videos when I couldn't join. So thank you for sharing those.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining.
It's something we reflected a little bit is how much, because there's a little dance, a little balance that we do between the naturalness of like our mutual check-in, where as we check in, we spark realizations in each other, which leads to a much natural style of sort of coachy conversation rather than like a pure coaching session, really, in a way.
Which prompts an idea of something that Sam and I are thinking of recording, which is kind of to show what is not seeable in our check-ins. So there are some things that you might expect to see in a coaching conversation that you don't see in our check-ins, right? So what are these things and why don't they show up? So maybe there's something to that too.
But I think that brings us right onto time. So just that classic question of, is there anything else, or are we ready to wrap?
If there was anything else, what might it be? anyone is very aware of the global impact of plastic bottles. I'm not a regular consumer. This was given to me a couple of months ago. I've been refilling it the 4th time now. And it's the only one I have with me in the office. Yeah, and it will be responsibly recycled.
You had to clarify that, right? Because the video is going live.
Right, yeah.
Position clear on that. It's an image thing. It's the image of perfect George.
That's right. We're seeing perfectionism manifested live, people.
Yes.
So just if you do have any feedback for us, please give that to us in the feedback form. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us today.
And here's the link. Thank you once again for joining. Thanks for watching, Ash, and for joining today.
Thank you.
And we hope to have you next week.
Bye.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Thank you all. And thanks to everybody tuning in on the stream and for watching the replay. Thank you all. And bye.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ash.